So you are from the African Legal Support Facility. So you are essentially providing legal support to governments across the continent. Tell me more about the work that you do.
So the ALSF is an organization that's been in operation for over 13 years. We're based in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, hosted by the African Development Bank. And our mandate is to support African governments with advisory services, so any particular transaction that an African government wants to enter into with the private sector or with an international investor, and with capacity building, being any support that government lawyers require when it comes to equipping themselves with the skills, with the exposure, with the expertise required to deal with complex transactions.
Well, it sounds like you must be very busy because the potential at the moment for these public-private partnerships and with international investors who seem to really want to come to the continent now is exploding.
It is, and public-private partnerships particularly is an area of expertise at the ALSF. Other sectors where we intervene are energy, sovereign debt, and anything around extractive resources, natural resources, so mining and oil and gas. So yes, you're absolutely right. The needs are huge. Public-private partnerships in particular are seen as a tool and are regaining interest in terms of the way to close the infrastructure gap, the energy gap. So yes, there's a lot of work and a lot of demands, a lot of requests that we're getting from governments across the continent to help them structure the deals, to help them through the bidding processes, to help them with negotiation of the legal documentation. So yes, we're busy.
So you work across Africa,
That's
but
correct.
each country is different. And so what do you find as some of the biggest obstacles to different governments when they're trying to enter into these deals?
I would say it's the lack of exposure. I wouldn't say it's a lack of capacity. Or if it's a lack of capacity, it's a lack of capacity resulting from the lack of exposure.
Okay.
Right? I mean, typically, to negotiate a mining license agreement to your benefits, you need to know what is at stake, right? What are the key point, the key commercial point, the key legal points that you need to pay attention to, and for that, what we've seen in the past is that this lack of exposure caused countries to enter into unbalanced contracts, which often result in the country wanting to review the contract or even cancel it, 3-4 years down the line. So what we try to do at the ALSF is ensure that from inception, those contracts are structured in a way that is fair, that is equitable, that is balanced, such that they can sustain the passing of time and be the silver lining of implementation of projects.
So doing the due diligence on the projects.
Absolutely. So there's a due diligence phase to ensure, for instance, that the legal regulatory framework in the country is suited to the project that is intended, be it a PPP, an independent power producer contract in a country. So we first look at the legal and regulatory framework in the country to ensure that it is suited. If not, there's a red flag report that will point out the areas where that needs to be adjusted before the country enters into that particular deal.
And so where are you seeing the biggest growth and the biggest need for your expertise at the moment? Is it in big mining contracts, or is it moving to renewable energy, or is it completely different? Where is the biggest growth?
That's a very interesting question. We've always been very busy in the PPP sector and in the natural resources and extractive sector, so mining, oil and gas. Now, of course, there's a shift. So those two sectors are always, still very active. But the energy sector, in particular, green energy transaction, whether it's hydro, green hydrogen, biomass, anything that is, clean energy, has picked up seriously over the past few years. And we're seeing a lot of growth also in the sovereign debt sector, helping country helping countries understand the construct of of a Eurobond structuring, helping countries negotiate loan documentation in a sound manner. So we've seen a significant growth in those two sectors, energy and sovereign debt, over the past 3-4 years.
And where do you think the biggest potentially untapped potential lies on the continent?
Well, I think those sectors, the 4 sectors that I mentioned, are really the ones that structure our economies. Where I see the most potential for us as African Legal Support Facility in the work that we do is enhancing our capacity building initiatives, right? At the end of the day, what we strive for is to make sure that African lawyers and the whole ecosystem around those big projects are able to handle those projects, from a negotiation standpoint on their own, without necessarily the support of us as an organization, but because they have inbuilt skills and expertise to deal with those, those transactions, and on a level playing field basis with international investors. So capacity building is where I think there's going to be a lot of efforts in the next few years.
Fantastic. So conferences like this are really good, as you said, in kind of connecting, the public sector, the private sector, and other stakeholders. What do you want to see from the next Gabi conference, and what do you want to achieve by the next Gabi conference?
Those conferences are the occasion for public and private sector to, basically touch base and see what are the common areas of interest and how things can progress. Typically, we were in the DRC Zambia electric battery and vehicle forum yesterday. There is progress, in that particular initiative. The two countries have come together to build the value chain in that particular industry. So several steps have been accomplished already. What I would like to see for that particular initiative, and for all initiatives actually that are discussed in this type of forum, is actual progress in the implementation, so that we don't come next year and have the same discussions around, potential having to be materialized, intentions being expressed without any substantive actions behind them. So generally, what I would like to see in the next Gabi is a kind of report on the progress made on initiatives such as the DRC, Zambia, BEV initiative, and more generally.
Fantastic. I look forward to hearing all about them. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.